Hey, I'm DJ Sixsmith. What's up? Welcome to the program. Annie Murphy's here with us.
Hi.
Schitt's Creek has come to an end. How are you?
A shell of a woman. I'm a shell of a woman. It left a very sizable hole in my life when we wrapped.
Yeah, when did you guys actually wrap? When was that final date?
We wrapped a year ago, over a year ago, like the end of June last year. But it was nice because, we did a bunch of touring and we still saw each other all the time. So it didn't quite feel as impactful as it would have otherwise. But yeah, since like the final episode aired and being obviously in lockdown and everything, it's been really hard not seeing everybody.
I'm glad you guys got it in before the pandemic too, because that really would have sucked if you hadn't finished in the way you wanted to.
I know. I think about that all the time. Imagine if we'd been like, one more season, it would have been a nightmare. So it all finished as it should. And we were so lucky to be able to, Dan knew that it was going to be 6 seasons and out. And I feel like not a lot of shows get that opportunity to finish on their own terms. So yeah, bittersweet for sure.
Well, I think one of the great things about the show is it had this amazing backstory and even your backstory in terms of jumping on. So why don't we go back? Just explain to me and everybody else where you were at in your life prior to Schitt's Creek and what things were looking like for you.
Oh man. Well, life was pretty bleak for me at the time just before Schitt's Creek. I hadn't worked in almost 2 years. My apartment had just burnt down. I had basically no money in my bank account. And I'd been getting so close to like booking that job, but I never got the call. And so I was really kind of like aware that the universe was like, this isn't the job for you, move along, lady. And so I gave up. I was like, I can't do this anymore. This is not for me. It's just like breaking me down. And literally the next day I got the audition for Schitt's Creek.
Wow.
And literally like a life-changing experience for me. So
that's really incredible. And it just goes to show the difference between being in this industry and rolling through and being on the outside and doing something completely different.
That's it. And now I'm, the advocate for never give up because, hindsight 2020,
Mm-hmm.
but you never know what's around the corner. Like a email can change your life and an audition can change your life. And so, yeah, I'm feeling very lucky.
And you never know how a show is going to be received either. And I think this show is the case study for it because it gets going and it's super funny and it has this audience and it's starting to build. So what were the early days like? Because obviously it's a big deal in Canada. You're starting with the shoestring budget. Like when does it start to become a bigger deal?
I think the answer is when we got added to Netflix in the States. It kind of blew up. But when we started out, it was this little show on CBC in Canada, and we shot in Toronto, and then we drive up to this little town called Goodwood, Ontario, appropriately named, and shoot there. So it felt like very insular and very small. But I think, Netflix aside, I think that the show kind of came along at the right time when people were feeling like they needed a place that they could go where everything is safe and kind and loving and accepting, when the world these days is, kind of the opposite of that most often. So yeah, I think the show kind of came along at just the right time, and that's why it's taken off. But it's so crazy to think about, like, we're like, oh yeah, maybe we'll get another season. Wouldn't that be nice? And then just to have it, have the show and all the people on it having accomplished such wonderful things. It's a really amazing place to end.
Yeah, it's unlike anything I've ever seen before. And even with the show itself, it's like we're kind of obsessed with families who have a lot of money or the lifestyle of the rich and the famous. And like, this is the complete opposite of that when it peels back the layers and like you lose everything. So why do you think this resonated with people in terms of that fall from grace, from going from the peak to a much different looking life?
I don't know. I think, well, like Schadenfreude, like watching, rejoicing in people's misery. You know, you're always like, when you're watching those shows, you're like, what if? Like,
Yep.
what if this happened to you? Like, how would you behave? And I think it's a really interesting kind of character study to think about that. But I think, you know, I think it was so wonderful to be able to see this family figure out how to be a family, and like siblings learn how to be siblings and parents learn how to be parents at the not so tender age of, you know, 30 and 60. So I think that was appealing, like people just kind of figuring their shit out and learning, like just doing their best to get through the day.